Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility with the first episode of a new series going forward. And in the co-captain's chair, you guys have been asking for him. He's back,
Yeah.
Mr. Rich Catino.
What's
What's
up,
going on,
guys?
man?
Thanks for having me back, man.
The most requested person on the channel
Really, that's
was
awesome.
you all the
I
time.
appreciate, I
Where's Rich?
appreciate it,
Where's
guys.
Rich? I miss Rich.
Thank
When
you.
is Rich coming back? Here he
Thanks.
There he
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
is.
And we've
Rich
been
and
in
I have
touch.
been
Well, like we say, we're always in touch. We see each other at shows.
Rich and I are in constant contact all the time, and
Yeah.
he's very hip to what we're doing here on the channel. But we've been talking about doing something very specific and a little different for a number of months now, and this is episode one of that. So, Rich came to me back before the holidays, and he said, wouldn't it be cool to do like a series talking about all these great young new wave of traditional heavy metal bands. That's what they're being called. So some folks might be like, I never heard this before. Well, it's a real thing. There
And it's
are,
a real channel on YouTube. They're
yeah,
dedicated. They're dedicated to playing all these albums from all these bands.
yes, yes. And these are bands from all around the world
Yep.
that are basically playing a style of metal that goes back to like the early 80s, right? That's the best way to describe it. Think
Right.
like the that wave of American traditional heavy metal bands in the early 80s. Think the new wave of British heavy metal. It's
Right.
just that whole era from like what, Rich, 79 to 85, I would say,
Right. Like I
right?
wrote down, these are names that come to mind: Omen, Attacker, Satan, Demon, Cloven Hoof, Jag Panzer, Manila Road, right?
Liege Lord,
Liege Lord, great one.
Agent Steel,
Old Armored Saint.
yep, Old Armored Saint, early
Yep.
Halloween,
Yep.
early Halloween,
Old
right?
Sabotage.
Old Sabotage. Yep. Yep.
Mhm.
Exactly. So you're going to probably hear us reference a lot of these bands while we're talking about these current bands, right? And
Yeah.
most of this stuff that we're going to be talking about are bands that have kind of come onto the scene probably around 2010 or
Right.
thereabouts and recent, right?
Right.
A lot of them are brand new bands. We might have some that have been around for a decade or so.
Right.
Some, and what we're going to try and do on these episodes is each episode is going to be highlighting five bands, and we're going to be talking about the bands and who they are, what they do. But
Right.
we're going to try and really focus on their most recent albums, although we may talk about some of their prior albums as well too.
Right.
So yeah,
And
so
a
that
few of
sets
these
us up.
bands, before we start, a few of these bands I also talked about at the Metal Hall of Fame. Did a couple articles on them.
Yep, yep, that's right.
So go there. I talk about them as well because it's, important to talk about the past there, but it's important to talk about the future too.
Yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
So I think I did 2 or 3 parts already so far.
And you'll probably have lots more parts to go, right? Because there's new bands popping up all the
I
time.
know. There's so many, but I don't talk about everybody because not everybody's good or great. You don't want, it's more, it's more what's good and just not filler,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Quality,
exactly.
not quality, not quantity. That's what I wanted to say.
Right, absolutely. So there's many more to come after today's episode. So like I said, we'll try to bring you these, if not every month, every other month, right, as often as we can get to them.
Yeah.
And we're going to start off. We've handpicked five to start with, and the first band we're going to talk about from Gothenburg, Sweden. All right, because again, they're
Mhm.
going to be from all over the place, and the
They are.
band is called Air Raid. And this
Cool
is their
cover.
brand new album. Well, brand new. It came out in 2023. This is
Yeah.
called Fatal Encounter. First of all, I mean, Rich, that artwork is so
Right?
early 80s, right? I mean, come on.
It's so cool. You know what it just reminds me of actually when I looked at it again, the first Boston album.
Yes.
That
Like
with
you should
that
get the
with
guitar,
that
right?
air with
Yep.
the aircraft that's actually a guitar and that's a guitar in space, right?
Yep. Yep. It looks
Yeah.
like a combination of that and something we would have seen on like Combat Records or Noise Records, right? Maybe even Metal
Yeah,
Blade.
absolutely.
Very old school. Everything about it is old school.
Yep.
So these guys are from Gothenburg, Sweden. They formed in 2009. Their albums are Fatal Encounter from 2023. They released Across the Line in 2017, Point of Impact in 2014, Night of the Axe in 2012. Plus, they got an EP and a demo. And the
Right. So I think
guys,
they started kind of around 2009, 2010. So
yep,
they're like you're saying, we're talking about kind of that more recent 2010, which mostly everybody kind of came out around then, maybe a couple of years before, like Striker or Cauldron, a couple of those bands, maybe a little bit earlier, right?
right, yeah, but we're still looking at about 2005, 2010, and on
Yeah.
for the most
Yep.
part, right? It's gonna be
Yeah.
pretty
So this
consistent.
is relatively really newer music from the past 10, 12-ish years.
Yeah, and these guys have already a handful of albums out. These are probably one of the more well-known out of this type of band.
Mhm.
Um, Current lineup of the band is Andreas Johansson on guitars, Magnus Mild on guitars, Frederick Werner on vocals, Jan Ekberg on bass, and William Seidel, I guess that's how he says his name, on drums. That's the
Okay.
current lineup of the band. There you go. I'll open up the CD and I'll show you what they all look like. Rich, I don't know if you want to talk about the album a little bit while I'm doing some show and tell here.
Well, when you listen to them, what's the first thing you thought of? There's two bands that came to mind when I listened to these guys.
Oh, uh,
You know?
there's a few that came to
Okay.
mind for me. I hear very, very early Def Leppard. I hear
Really?
Leatherwolf. I hear Leatherwolf.
Ooh, good one. Okay.
I hear a little early Armored Saint, and I hear a little early TNT, and a little early Europe, and some
Interesting.
Rainbow. That's what I hear. All right.
Interesting. I didn't pick any of those bands.
No, what did you pick then?
I picked Old Hammerfall, Glory to the Brave,
Wow. Okay.
especially on that song Lionheart.
Oh, Lionheart is great. Well, because you know why? Because Lionheart, especially, and really the whole album has this whole kind of Euro
Yes,
metal, right? That early power metal. That's why I hear like the first two Europe albums a little bit on some of this stuff.
that's true. That's a good call. And Yngwie Malmsteen, first two, three
Well,
albums.
oh, for sure, for sure.
Especially the singer reminds me of Jeff Scott Soto and Paul Shortino.
I mean, look at that. How like early 80s does that look right there?
Yeah. Great, great singer. Do you think he sounds like Jeff Scott Soto or Paul Shortino? Maybe a little bit of both?
You know what? I have a really hard time with his voice trying to because I always like to give a point of reference, right? And when I listen to
Okay.
him, he reminds me of someone, but I can't pinpoint it. Because he's
I
got
got
that
those
kind of
two
like
guys.
it's like upper register thing going on, but he's really good, but he doesn't
Yeah.
over shriek at all. So
Right.
maybe like Jeff Scott Soto, you thinking marching out time
Yeah.
period?
That's the
Yeah, I
album
could
I
kind of
wrote
see
down,
that.
man. That's the album I wrote down.
Okay, I can kind of see
Yep.
that. I think some of the backing vocals on the choruses remind me of like High and Dry on Through the Night era Def Leppard. But man, I get some Leatherwolf on this,
That's
especially in some of
cool. I
the
got it.
riffage, I think, which is really cool. But I love, you mentioned the neoclassical guitar shredding.
Yes.
There's a lot of that on here. And I think
Yes.
it's this guy's really good.
Like, oh, you know where you
Guys are
said
really
"Oh Europe"? That little, if it's an intro or an instrumental, Sinfonia,
yes.
that is so old Europe, first two albums. And Ingve.
And Shrapnel Records in general, right? Like Tony
Yes,
Moore, Tony
yes.
McAlpine. Yeah. I heard
Great
that. I
call.
was like, oh, this is a little different for here, right? Pretty
That's
cool.
cool. Yep.
Did you get Edge of a Dream, which is track number 6? That's a
Okay.
little darker piece. I'm getting like Warning era Queensryche on that.
Yes, yes. I can hear that. And I also get from In Solitude, I'm getting Axel Rudy Pell for those Axel Rudy Pell fans out there,
I can totally get that. I put
right?
down
That
Ronnie Left to Grow
90s,
in the guitar tone, but I totally
yes,
hear some Axl Rudi.
90s Axel, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. There is a very strong Euro metal feel on this whole album, which I think people will
Mhm.
love, especially if you like a lot of the bands we mentioned. And
Yeah,
another track on here, which I think is a little different, and especially compared to the rest of the album, is Let the Kingdom Burn, which
that's
to
the other
me
one I
is
wrote down.
it's a
Slower?
little slower, kind of like early
Yeah,
Sabotage or similar period Black
yeah.
Sabbath. Like maybe the Tony
We are
Martin
so
of
on the
Black
same
Sabbath.
page with this band.
Yeah. Maybe Omen as well on that.
Yep. Yeah.
So I think it's really good. Pegasus Fantasy, which is the last track. They're singing in Swedish on that, right? I can't really tell.
That's another dude, that's so funny. That's another one I wrote down, and I didn't know that that was a cover song. Did you know that?
No, no.
It's a cover song from let me see, a Japanese band called Makeup from the '80s, which I had
Uh,
no idea. But it's really catchy, right? Very fun and catchy song.
it does say Makeup on here. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Is that a band? I had no idea.
Yeah, it's a Japanese metal band. I've never heard of them,
So
and,
are they singing it in Japanese?
I don't
I couldn't
think
really
they
tell.
were.
I
I
couldn't
don't
tell.
think they
I just
were.
know I couldn't understand what they were saying. I'm
I
like,
was like,
oh,
"This is a great song. It's nice and fun and catchy and"
it is really good. Yeah,
yeah,
it is really good.
awesome.
So overall, what would you think? What would you say of this album? Easy to recommend, I think, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I know it was. That was in my top 10 or 15 at Brave Words for last year.
Last year. Okay, all right.
Last year, easily. Yeah, I know it was in there. I forgot what number, but it's there.
Yeah, it's really tight. It's a really good sounding record. The production's good. It
Yeah,
sounds like it could have come from that era, right? I think that a lot of these go for that whole feel. The
yeah.
singing, the riffs, the solos, the songs themselves are very memorable. I would
Mhm.
say for those looking to listen to two songs to just get a feel for it, Thunderblood and Lionheart, which are two first songs to me are my
But
favorite.
yeah,
Really
yeah,
good. It just
yeah,
gets you right in the mood for the rest of the album. So I dig it quite
yep.
a bit. So yeah,
And it's a
Airwaves is
shame.
our first band.
It's a shame most of these bands have never played here. A couple of
No,
them, like Haunt, Stryker have toured here, a couple others, but nobody's really gotten here, you know?
no, no. It's gonna take
Maybe actually, no, maybe a couple of those festivals, like, what's that one in
the one
Texas, I think?
the one in
Hell's
Texas.
Heroes, I think?
Yep, that one and maybe the one out in Vegas, probably too. Maybe some of them have
Yes.
that one
So
as
I
well.
think some of these bands have come over here. I don't know if Air Raid has, though.
Mm, good question. I don't know. I
But
don't
I
know.
don't think anybody's really hit a tour. Like, I saw Haunt with Night Demon opening up for Satan last year, and that was awesome. The
Yeah, that
3
was
of
good.
those together. Perfect fit.
Yeah,
Perfect fit.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. And for
Yeah.
those wondering, yes, we will be covering Night Demon and Haunt in a future episode. So that's we'll
Yeah.
try and get to as many as we can
Yeah.
on this
They're
season.
excellent. Both
Yeah,
of them are really good.
yeah. All right, so next we're going to move to Boston, Massachusetts for a very cool band, new band. This is these guys are
They're really new. This is their debut.
this is their debut album. The band is called
Yeah.
Owlbear. Very weird name, but the
How's that combination? You got an owl and a bear. There you go.
yes.
It's heavy metal. It's heavy metal though, right?
Oh, totally.
Let's do hybrids.
Absolutely. This is a really cool album. So the Boston,
Yeah.
Massachusetts, again, formed in 2022 or 2023. Their only two album, well, their only album right now is Chaos to the Realm, which was
Mhm.
released last year. They've got a new EP coming out, I think the end of this month called Legends and
Oh,
Lore.
okay. I didn't know that.
And then in the band is Jeff Taft on all guitars. You've got Katie Scary on vocals. She's a really good singer. Leona Hayward on bass, and SD Slaughter plays the drums on the album. I'll show you just a little bit of the booklet here so everybody can get a feel for what this is all about. So this is epic traditional metal. You can tell
Yes.
just by the booklet, right? Fantasy lyrics. I think these guys are really into Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that. And
I wrote down that they're a little more fast driving tempos with these guys and the twin guitar harmonies. A lot of that going on.
yes, yes. And what's really interesting too, and then one of the things I wrote down in my notes is that, Jeff is doing all these really cool twin guitar things on this album. So you have to
Mhm.
wonder, like for live shows, is
Right.
they bringing in another guitar player? Because I can't
Probably.
imagine him doing all this stuff. There's like
Yeah.
loads of lead guitar on this album. Really,
Yeah.
really good. I will say Katie is a really good singer.
Mhm.
She reminds me, I'm getting all these different feels here. I hear Midnight from the late Midnight from Crimson Glory. I hear like on the first song, Fiend of Fire, I hear a little Papa from Ghost, Papa Emeritus
Okay.
from Ghost.
Yeah.
Some of the arrangements are very much like classic Satan, especially off the first
Mhm.
album, Court in the
Yeah.
Act.
Yep.
Um, I don't know. I get a little bit of early Liege Lord, early Halloween. Some of the tunes like Cult of the
Mhm.
Serpent, which totally crushes.
I
Reminds me of early Liege Lord and like
wrote
maybe
that one down. Wrote that one down too. Yep.
a good one, right? That's one of
I
my
love
favorites.
that song. That might be my favorite on the album. I
Yeah,
said the dual guitars in there and the higher singing too. Much more
yeah.
higher singing in that song.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Steel at My Side is great, just balls out metal. I mean, like I said,
Mhm.
and you'd swear there were two guitarists on this album because he's
Yes.
putting in all sorts of really cool stuff. I really like the way he drops in all these little fills around all the kind of complex riffery.
Mhm.
Some of his solos are really good. A couple tracks, the solos kind of meander a little bit for me, but I think overall, his riffs and his little fills are just absolutely killer, and I think he's
Yeah.
really, really strong at that. What
And
else?
they sound different than Air Raid. You know, some of these bands do sound similar. There's a lot of them. There's some similarities, a lot of crossover between a lot of these bands. If you go to, like I was saying, it's called, let me see, the New Wave of Traditional Heavy Metal Full Albums. That's where it's at on YouTube. And you can find all this stuff.
Yeah,
So there is a lot of similarity between a lot of these bands, but there's many that stand out.
yeah. Well, I mean, so let's point out the similarities. A lot of them have singers that have the kind of high pitched upper register vocal style.
Right.
That's very common.
Right.
The galloping, speedy arrangements. You know,
Yes.
some of the stuff you could
Almost
probably call speed.
everybody got that, except for the
Yeah,
one band that you picked that we're gonna talk about after, right?
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's that. So you get a lot of that galloping, like, like Loose the Old, sounds like a classic early Iron Maiden gallop to me. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just like that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And then like Fall on Your Blade, which is the closer on this album, reminds
Mhm.
me of like Walls of Jericho era. It's Halloween,
Mhm.
Hey, I
Yeah.
love that. So it's like I don't
So
have
do
an
I.
issue
I
with it.
love
But
that first Halloween album, yep.
yeah, but for some people, you might get a little after listening to like four or five of these albums back to
Right.
back, you would be like, okay, there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of people that love that old school style of metal, right? And that's kind of why we're
Some
doing
of it
this.
right, but some of it needs a little more of the Maiden and the Priest and the Deal with the variety, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other songs on here you want to point out? I mean, there's some really good ones on
No,
here.
you did all the good ones there.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Yep. You got
there's
everything.
there's 10 tracks in total. I would highly recommend this one, and it's another really, really good sounding album. And what we'll do is in the comments, we'll drop the link to the channel that Rich is talking about, and I'm going to put all of their Bandcamp links down as well, so you can go
Cool.
listen to the albums on their own, as well as
Yeah.
consider making a purchase, right? Because for all of them, you can buy their CDs and vinyl and stuff right
Wait,
directly.
hold on a second. My
Yeah,
phone's ringing. I'm sorry.
yeah.
I'll be right back.
You
Sorry,
got it.
guys.
You got it. All right. So while Rich is answering his telephone, let's let me introduce the next band we're going to talk about here. So these guys are from Florida, state of Florida. They've only also been together just a couple of years. The band is called Helms Deep, and their brand new debut album is called Treacherous Ways. And again, look at that album cover, right? These guys know how to talk about Treacherous Waves. I mean Helms Deep, Rich.
Okay, cool.
So I
Cool.
just basically just introduced them, showing the cover art here, and you got lyrics and all sorts of fun stuff in here. So this band is kind of interesting because it was formed by a guy named Alex Scortino, who's and he's not related to Rich Catino. Scortino, Rich Catino, right? No, for another Italian, obviously. He is a guitar player and singer, and he basically grabbed two guys from Raven to form
Right?
this band. And I don't know if these guys are going to be in the band going forward, but we got John Gallagher, or John Gallagher, let's say it correctly, on bass and vocals from Raven, and Mike Heller also played drums for Raven on
Yeah.
drums. I don't know. Are these guys going to be in the band going forward? I have no idea, but
And how's that a connection to the new wave of British heavy metal? You got two guys from
right
it.
there. Exactly. So if that was a way for Alex to kind of get some instant credibility in this new style of metal, he's got him right.
Yeah.
So it's right now for the album, it's a three-piece, and we've got 10 tracks on here. This is most of this album to me is very, very much early speed metal to my ears,
Yeah.
with just some amazing guitar playing. And he's so for some folks, his vocals, think of early John Oliva, like when he's doing the high pitched shrieking thing.
Mhm.
There's a
That's
lot
what
of
I
that
wrote
in
down.
this album,
Yeah.
which may bring up a little fatigue for some people, but I think
Yeah.
he does it well.
Mhm.
And there's some really good tracks on here, really old school. Some of my favorites. So Fire Rain is the first track on here. Guitars are way up in the mix. He's doing that kind of John Oliva shrieking on this one. Fight or Flight is like
I
just
like that one a
crushing,
lot.
close to speed metal. It's one of my favorites here.
Mhm.
Um, Medusa's Requiem, kind of more of a mid-paced number, nice riffs, nice lead guitars. What else? I get some Annihilation. I hear some Agent Steel on that one.
Okay.
Great riff at the beginning, total speed metal banger. Love that. Mountains of the Scorpions is really good.
Yes,
Sorcery.
I wrote that one down. I love that one. Mountains of the Scorpion.
Yeah,
Great.
that's
Nice title
really
too.
fast.
Killer title, right?
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorites is Sorcery. It's got
Mm.
this big galloping riff to start off with. The chorus is catchy, and there's
Yeah.
really good lead guitars on here. I really like Headless Horseman
Yep.
as well. And then you got
If you
Serpent's
guys
Eyes, which
if you guys like old any kind of any era of the band Attacker from New Jersey, these guys remind me a lot of them.
that's a good
And,
yeah.
oddly enough, there you got the connection because they had their first album's called Battle at Helms Deep, so maybe that's where they got their name from?
I would think so. I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is good and great album artwork and
Great
nice
logo. I like their
production on
logo
here too.
too.
Yeah.
Cool
Oh, yeah.
logo.
Well, yes, that we should mention that because I think,
Yeah.
Air Raid's got a pretty unique logo, and I think
Uh-huh.
their
It's a
logo
little
is
on
just
slant.
totally killer
Yeah, yeah,
with
you
the
got the
daggers, right?
swords, everything's very angular and pointed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it quite a bit. Maybe Owlbear needs a little bit of help with the logo. It's okay, I guess, but
Actually, I kind of like it. It stands out. It doesn't look like everybody else. That's good.
yeah, true, true. I
Yeah.
love the creature though, because
Yeah.
you gotta have that kind of
You
like
gotta
that
have a
mascot.
mascot. You gotta have some cool
Gotta
artwork.
have a
Yeah.
mascot. So I think this is really good.
Yeah.
For me, about like three-quarters of the way through the album, though, I get a little fatigued with
Yeah.
his constant need to scream, I think, but
Mhm.
he's a tremendous guitar player, really good
Yeah.
guitar
A
player,
lot of
and
guitars on this album. Yeah.
oh yeah, a lot of
A
guitars,
lot of
and
solo. Yeah.
I do want to point this out. So they have another logo on the back, which I think is pretty neat right there, which is
Yeah.
cool. But I think the production is really good. It's a great sounding album. There's some really good
Yes.
bangers on here,
Oh,
and
that's the other thing too. These bands on that channel, the new wave of British traditional heavy metal, some of the production is awful on some of this, but it's a lot of self-produced stuff, Bandcamp, where you find a lot of this stuff. So it's not always the best production, but the ones that we're picking out, the mixes and the production is really good.
yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. So I would give that a definite thumbs up. All right, let me load my Prezi so I can show the cover of our next band, which
Okay.
Rich and I were talking about before we went live.
Yeah.
I actually ordered their CD like in January. I still haven't gotten it, so I've been on their case about finding out where it is because I wanted to show it off today, and especially because it's got an amazing cover, probably the coolest cover out of. I mean, look at that.
Yeah.
The band is called Gatekeeper,
Super.
and that
Very
they've
cool.
been around. They're from Canada.
Yep.
Been around since 2009. From Western Shores is this brand new album right here. Look at that glorious cover. I mean,
That's awesome.
that looks just tremendous. And their other albums, let's see, they've got a bunch of records. They've got East of Sun from 2018, and then loads of EPs and splits. So there's lots to
Yeah.
collect from this band. And I don't know if a lot of the songs from the EPs are all on the two full lengths or not. I don't know. I didn't look that far into it.
These guys in Haunt got a lot of EPs and singles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
They've been busy. They've been busy. And the band is comprised of Jeff Black on guitars and vocals, David Messier on bass, Tommy Tro on drums, Adam Bergen on guitars, lead guitar, and Tyler Anderson on vocals. And again, they're from Canada. I believe they're from Alberta, like Vancouver.
Edmonton.
I forget exactly where in
Edmonton. I
Canada.
wrote it down. It's Edmonton.
Edmonton. Okay, there you go.
And these guys, Pete, I'm just looking at my Brave Words top 20 from last year. Haunt was actually a number one with their new album, Golden Arm, right? Another band that's out of this new wave of traditional heavy metal is Hittin'. Their newest album, While Passion Lasts. And then Gatekeeper was in my top five. They're number four
It
with this
was
album.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah. Yep. So three of these bands from the new wave of traditional metal were in my top five.
very nice. I will say this album, compared to all the ones we're talking about today,
Mhm.
the production is stellar on this.
Yes.
This is a
It's
big
nice and, like, full and warm, but it's not, like, bass heavy or anything where it overpowers everything else.
no, no. This is they call themselves epic traditional metal, and
Uh,
I will say epic is the way to describe these guys. Um,
totally.
like the
You'll think
first
of
track.
you'll think of Manowar and Virgin Steel.
Manowar, Virgin Steel, and for more recent reference, a little bit of Visigoth. Visigoth has a similar
Yes.
vibe to these guys,
Yep,
and
yep.
very strong Euro flavor, very strong. You get like from Western
Right.
Shores, the opening track, nice
But the
gasp.
vocals are a little more yeah.
Yeah, the
I was
vocals
gonna
are
say the vocals are
definitely
a little more they're big and layered, but they're more like kind of mid-range-ish more often,
yes,
but they're very
yes,
melodic, right?
yeah. There's no high pitched shrieking stuff going on here
Once in
at
a
all.
while, he'll get up there. Yeah, once in a while, he'll get up there. It's kinda like he reminds me of I compare him to Hansi from Blind Guardian.
Yeah, in other words, he uses it when he needs to,
He
but it
needs to, right.
doesn't permeate all the songs.
Yeah,
Um, like Death on Black Wings is really nicely done, very
I wrote that
melodic.
down. Very
And
expressive, I said. Very
yeah,
expressive vocal. Yeah.
and that's one of those songs where he blends in those little quick little high pitched things,
Mhm.
when he needs to, which I think is good.
Yep.
Shadow and Stone reminds me of Crimson Glory, like the first album.
Yes. I
Really
wrote
good,
that song down. Yep.
amazing
That's on my
guitar
list
solo.
here. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What else we got here? Exile King is really good. I think Twisted Towers is another fun kind of galloping type of track. All of this stuff is just like you get this kind of like type of feel
Yeah,
to it, but it's not overly Euro happy power metal stuff. It's not at
right, right.
uh,
We're not getting into Dragon Force territory or anything like
no,
that.
no, not at all. Not at
This
all.
is old school, like the way we like it from the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, yeah. And I think for me, arguably my favorite two tracks on this album are the last two. I think
Mhm.
Desert Winds and Keepers of the Gates are
Yes.
amazing. And I
Yep.
like that both of them are a little longer. It's got that kind of classic power metal, prog metal thing going on there. And man, that
Yeah.
guy, Tyler Anderson, he is singing up a storm on these albums. Really,
Yeah.
really good.
One of
And
my favorite singers out of the whole new wave of
out of
traditional
all of
metal.
them, yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's one of them.
Now, have you heard anything other than this album? Because I haven't heard it. I haven't heard any of their earlier
I have
stuff.
to go backwards with them.
Okay,
These newer bands, I'm not too familiar with the older stuff. It's more of the newer stuff.
right.
I'm more familiar with like uh, Haunt, Striker, um, Cauldron.
Yeah.
Who's the other one I really like?
Night Demon.
Night Demon. I gotta look at my collage now. Skullfist. Skullfist are awesome. I like them.
Yeah, Skullfish.
Ambush. Skullfist, Ambush are really good, but we'll talk about them at another, right?
Yeah, that we will. That we will. There's plenty to cover. Plenty to cover. All right. So for our last one for today, and these guys are from Lancaster in the United Kingdom, and they formed in 2011. This is Wytch Hazel. So some of you may remember Wytch Hazel. I reviewed this album when it first came out.
They're very different when it comes to all of this stuff.
Yes, they're very different. So this is out of all these bands we're talking about today, I would think that this is a little further out, even
Mhm.
further out than Gatekeeper. You know, the first three you could arguably say are kind of similar, sort
Yes,
of,
they're in
but
the same family. Yeah.
yeah, but this is a different beast altogether. So this is Four Sacraments. This is their fourth album. This is 2023. Their third album was called Pentecost. That was 2020. Their second album, Sojourn, was 2018, and Prelude was 2016. And they have a bunch of EPs. And the band is comprised of Colin Hendra on drums, guitars, vocals, piano, and organ. So he's kind of like a jack of all trades. Alex Haslam on guitars, maybe lead guitars. Andrew Shackleton on bass. And then also on this album, Ed Turner plays mandolin and mellotron. So right
There
from
you
the
go.
opening
That
track,
makes it different right there, right? The mandolin and mellotron, right?
of course, yes. So now we're adding this kind of like a folky and prog type of element. Right off the bat, The Fire's Control, the first song, you hear these glorious, like Thin Lizzy, Wishbone Ash style harmony, twin harmony guitar lines. Very melodic vocals.
Mm.
And it's got this kind of cool anthemic, like hard rock feel to it. As
Yeah.
it's not really metal. It's kind of hard rock, kind of metal. There's a couple of metal tracks on here, but for
Mhm.
the most part, this is just really good. And it's a Christian band too. I should mention that too. So the lyrics are very much Christian lyrics. Um, Angel of Light, one of my favorite songs on here. You got more of those glorious kind of Thin Lizzy harmony guitars, more good riffs on this, really nice lead and backing vocals, great drums. There's some organ in the background,
Mhm.
lending it like a little bit of a Deep Purple feel.
Yes,
Some
that's it.
acoustic
Yeah.
guitar in it too. Really good song. Angel of Light is terrific. And as far as some of the more metal tracks, I would recommend Strong Heart. That's more of a metal song, but still has that hard rock feel. For folks watching, if you've ever listened to the early 80s band Ashbury from Arizona, this band is kind of similar to that, right? They're kind of just heavy enough, but they're not quite metal, but you could call some of their stuff metal.
Yeah.
A Thousand Years, another great one with a Wishbone Ash vibe, really good guitar harmonies, got good galloping riffs on that one. You got Endless Battle. That's more of like kind of like an epic metal track. But weirdly enough, after listening to this band for a while now, Rich, I was listening to them again yesterday and
Mhm.
thinking, man, who do the vocals sound like? You know what the vocals sound like? The guys from the Southern rock band The Outlaws. It's like this weird mix
Oh,
of like Huey Thomason and oh boy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Um,
I don't know their names. Can't help you with that one.
yeah, oh man, it's drawing a complete blank.
Do you get like a little bit of doomy kind of vibes from this too? Sometimes?
Yeah, but not like there's no doom riffs. That's the weird
Right.
thing. It's the
Right.
atmosphere of it, I think.
The atmosphere, yeah.
It's the atmosphere. Yeah.
Mhm.
God, this is really killing me. I can't think of the other lead singer from the Outlaws.
What's the name of the group?
The Outlaws.
The Outlaws. Let me look them up. See
Yeah.
if I can find it. Hold on.
Help me out here, Rich.
What's the name that you said?
The one of their singers. Henry Paul. Henry Paul. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
So the vocalist the vocals in this band remind me of a cross between Huey and Henry from the Outlaws. It's got that kind of feel to it. Not that the music sounds like Southern rock, it doesn't, but the vocals
Right.
just kind of remind me of that a little bit. And then you got Digging Deeper, which is the final track on here, and that's longer song, lots of guitar solos, acoustic guitar, electric guitar, whatever. Very cool album, very different. And they even looked the part. I mean, this looks like a photo from like 1974 or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
Cool band. I've heard one of their other albums. I don't remember if it's the second or third one. But like I said, this is the most recent one. So I'm thinking if you want something a little bit different, but still it's got this retro vibe like everything else, Wytch Hazel are a very cool band. And another one of the more notable ones from this kind of group of bands. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So we will be back in, I guess, like a month or so.
Yeah.
With 5 other acts. I don't know if Rich, if you want to just in one of those great plaques behind you, if you want to just kind of just fire off a whole bunch of other names, just so people know some of the other bands we're going to be covering here.
All right. So we said Night Demon, Skullfist, Enforcer. They're one of the original ones.
Enforcer, yep.
Older band, yep. They've been around. Their last album was really good. Ambush, Road Wolf were pretty cool. Eternal Champion.
Okay.
Warrior Path. Two
Path.
other ones to check out that I really like.
You got Riot City on there too, right?
Riot City, which you talked about them.
Yep.
Satan's Fall, who are really cool.
Yep.
Like the Merciful Fate song. Burning Witches, who we're going to see this coming Friday with KK's Priest, right? In New Jersey.
That's right. That's right.
Who else? Geez, there's so many. You said Visigoth.
Yep.
Stallion are really cool. I like them. Bewitcher, if you like old Venom and old Motorhead, Bewitcher are really good.
Yep.
So there's a lot to check out. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll be keeping you guys busy in the months ahead. Like I said, 5 bands for every episode, and we'll give you all the links to go and investigate some of these groups. And for those who like classic metal, this is the show for you. These are the bands for you. So some of these new bands.
Everybody does, right? And you should support the new generation. Like if you love the old generation, which we all do,
absolutely,
the new generation.
And that's a good point. That's the point of doing this is to really like open people's eyes up and their ears a little bit to some of these newer sounds. Then I mean, I know there's a million bands out there to listen to, but if like old school metal is what you like, this will be the show for you. So check out and give these bands some love. We'll provide links so you can go investigate them, and we'll be back in a bit with 5 more, right? So why don't we talk about the show coming up on
Friday?
Yeah.
Well, we got KK's Priest, LA Guns, and Burning Witches.
Yep. Starland Ballroom.
Yeah.
In New Jersey, for all of you folks who are maybe local Jersey or New York folks and contemplating going to see KK's Priest, come down to the show, say hello. We'll be there. In fact, we'll have a SOT. What's that?
What are you most looking forward to? I got 2 songs I can't wait to hear.
God. Anything, I mean,
cool. You know, it's cool. Even though KK's on in Priest, we're getting the best of both worlds because we're getting 2 different Priest set lists almost, right?
Yeah, I haven't looked, so I don't know what he's been playing of late. I mean, how many Priest songs is he doing?
Maybe half.
Okay, all right.
But he's doing 2 of my favorites, Burn in Hell and Nightcrawler. I can't wait.
Jeez, gotta love that, right?
Right?
Gotta love that. Yeah, and I really want to hear some of the new tunes because I really like the new KK's Priest album.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. So we'll be there at the Starland Ballroom on Friday night, the 22nd, along with Craig Kaminsky and Jack Toledano and my brother. So for those of you who are local and want to come say hello and enjoy some great metal, that's where we'll all be. So
I'll be in the photo pit taking pictures. So say hello.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So so that does it for our episode 1 of our new wave of traditional heavy metal primer. Stay tuned for episode 2. I'll also announce who the 5 bands are going to be ahead of time, so you guys can go investigate them and whatnot. Rich and I will be deciding what those 5 are as soon as we get done talking here.
And check out my article at the Metal Hall. There's a couple of them. It's really good. I'm trying to keep the hall as current as possible. while we always, you know, honor the past. So
Cool. And
support,
we'll
support
get
people.
Rich to drop the link down below so everybody can go check that
Oh,
out.
nice. Thanks.
So cool.
All
There
right.
you have it, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube all together all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as a post. And please do hit the like button before you leave. For Rich Catino, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See
Thanks,
you at
guys.
KK's Priest and see you in a month or so on episode number 2 of a primer for a new wave of traditional heavy metal. Till then, have a good rest of
Sounds
the
good.
weekend, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.